Hello, guys and gals, and welcome. So, we have a lot of interesting things going on in 2.6, and one of them specifically is the Mosaic rune word. The Mosaic rune word is going to allow the assassin, the martial arts assassin, to spam abilities, right? And absolutely annihilate monsters. Well, yes and no. Unfortunately, there is something called next hit delay within the game, and I felt like this would be a good time to cover next hit delay and talk about it so that you guys know how next hit delay works, what it applies to, and so forth and so on. So I dug up this old website which I've used in the past, and we're going to talk about it. So quite a bunch of skills, or more precisely missiles, have an internal timer assigned to which prevents them from doing damage repeatedly over a short duration. No, this is not casting delay we're talking about here. This effect is known as next hit delay, which is usually abbreviated NHD. It is target based. This is your character may spawn affected skills again and again without restriction, but an enemy, once subject to next hit delay, is not affected anymore by any missile flagged as next hit delay. This is not an immunity. The missile just flies through the enemy, and the missile may still damage another monster behind the enemy. It doesn't matter if the first missile could actually deliver damage, or if it was defeated by the enemy's defense or blocking abilities. The moment the collision of the next missile is checked, next hit delay steps in. The common next hit delay term is composed of two columns titled missiles.txt, and the entry next hit column controls if a given missile is subject to next hit delay. Next delay gives the amount of frames that the effect lasts. So Diablo calculates everything in frames. So 25 frames is the calculation that Diablo likes to use. So you can represent that as a fraction. It's very easy. You just write 25 over 25. Okay, just like a fraction. 25 over 25 equals 1 full second. So if you have 1/25th, or 4/25ths, or 6/25ths, so forth and so on, that is representing how much of a fraction of a second you're getting. In the case of multi-shot, right here, multi-shot has a duration of 4 frames, so that would be represented as 4 over 25, so 4/25ths of a second. Let's see here. This is the duration which prevents any other missile with the next hit to affect the given enemy. So, for instance, if you shoot a monster with multi-shot, during those 4 frames, he cannot be hit by anything else, which also has a next hit delay. Man, my throat is just like absolutely just done. I hope it gets better before ladders start. So let's say, for instance, there was another person around, and the other person was using, I don't know, Tornado. Tornado has an next hit delay of 25, by the way. So when you hit the monster with Tornado, or when you hit the monster with multi-shot, if somebody were to hit that same monster with Tornado at the same exact time, only one of them would actually affect the monster. Now, Tornado would still pass through the monster and hit another monster behind it. It wouldn't just disappear or anything like that. But it's not going to specifically damage that monster during that 4-frame duration. Now, on the 5th frame, the monster is capable of being hit again by another attack. So if we were to divide this out into, say, how many times can a monster get hit per second, right? So if you pull up a calculator and you take 25 and you divide it by 4, in this particular case with multi-shot, a monster can effectively get hit 6.25 times per second. You cannot hit a monster more than that because of next hit delay. So every time you fire multi-shot, even if you were to fire 7 shots a second, you can't actually hit the monster 7 times in that 1 second. Because the problem is that the next hit delay prevents the monster from getting hit each and every single time. So even if you were to say, for instance, that the first shot is the beginning of the counter, so we have 1 shot is 4 frames in, so now you've consumed 4 frames of the 25. And this limits the damage output of these abilities. It also prevents the monster from getting hit twice by the same ability. So, for instance, in multi-shot's case, which is a very obvious one, multi-shot specifically is trying to prevent you from hitting the same monster multiple times with all the arrows. So, like, if you have a 20-shot multi-shot, you can fire all 20 arrows in a monster's face. And if next hit delay was not present, you could hit him with all 20 arrows, and that would do 20 times the amount of damage that you would normally do. But because multi-shot has a next hit delay of 4, which is basically about a tenth of a second, it prevents the monster from being hit by more than one arrow. Now, anytime a monster is under the next hit delay effect, the arrows will pass through the monster and hit the monsters behind. So in this particular case, if you fire 20 arrows at one monster and all 20 arrows hit the monster, only one arrow actually hits the monster and the other 19 will pass through the monster and hit the monsters behind it. That's, of course, assuming you don't have pierce. Now, pierce changes that equation, so even if you do hit the monster, it can still pierce through and then hit more monsters. But in this particular case, we're just assuming that multi-shot doesn't have pierce, just for the case of the just demonstration purposes. Missiles are not just common arrows or bolts, but anything which is released into a given direction. So auras, curses, cries, and are composed of missiles too. To cover this, you'll find two tables. The first one will list skills, and the other will list all the affected entries from the missile.txt. You may imagine some more interactions than just 2 attacks to one enemy, due to the fact that some barbarian crying skills are also subject to next hit delay. Alright, so here's a list of all the skills that have next hit delay on them, and we're going to talk about these real quick. So multi-shot has a next hit delay of 4. This is specifically to prevent multi-shot from being able to hit the same target twice or thrice or quadro or centuple, or I don't even know. I can't go any further. But basically, that's the entire reason why it has a very small hit delay, is to prevent you from hitting the monster multiple times. Strafe also has an X hit delay of 4. Not really sure why that one is, because I don't think you can ever hit a monster twice with Strafe. Lightning Strike, for some reason, Lightning Strike has an X hit delay of 4, and that's a terrible skill already. Don't even know why they threw an X hit delay on that one. Shock Web and Blade Sentinel have a next hit delay of 25, which is 1 full second, which means that Shockwave and Blade Sentinel cannot hit a monster a second time within a second, which is actually pretty terrible, by the way, because that next hit delay is pretty massive, and it does really nerf the damage of those two abilities. Wake of Fire has a next hit delay of 4, so you can't hit a monster twice within the same time frame. Same thing with multi-shot. So it's enough to prevent a monster from getting hit twice or thrice or 4 times or 5 times in that same tenth of a second. But they can, of course, be hit multiple times within that second, every time the next hit delay is up. Claws of Thunder and Phoenix Strike, which are 2 very important ones for what we're talking about today, also have next hit delay. So they will prevent the monster from being able to be hit by other next hit delay skills, and unfortunately, this is a bad thing. The Meteor on Phoenix Strike does not have next hit delay, and you can see that by going down to the Sorceress part of the tree, and you notice there's no Meteor on the Sorceress part of the tree. So the Meteor part of Phoenix Strike is actually not affected by next hit delay. However, the fire that comes from the Meteor is kind of affected by next hit delay. It works weird. But as you've noticed on this list, what's missing? Blades of Ice and Fists of Fire are both missing from this. So Blades of Ice and Fists of Fire do not have next hit delay, and they're not affected by that same thing. So you can spam Blades of Ice and Fists of Fire, but you cannot spam Phoenix Strike and Claws of Thunder, because they will essentially overwrite each other. So when you hit a monster with the Claws of Thunder, say Nova, nothing else can touch that monster within that tenth of a second. As you can see, barbarians also have some. Battle cry is 4, war cry is 6, battle orders is 4, battle command is 4, and grim ward is 6. Druid has some pretty terrible ones. Twister is 25, so you can't hit a monster with Twister within the same second. Tornado also has a pretty bad next hit delay of 25. Volcano has a next hit delay of 10, which isn't as terrible as 25, but it's still pretty bad. Shockwave has a next hit delay of 4. And this is the same thing as multi-shot. So Shockwave is basically trying to prevent Shockwave from doing multiple hits of damage on the same target because it has multiple shots. What is it, 4? I think it's 4, right? So technically, if you could hit a monster with all 4 hits of the Shockwave, it would do 4 times the amount of damage, which they're deliberately trying to prevent. Poison Nova is actually made up of missiles, and it also has a next hit delay of 4. Doesn't really matter too much because Poison Nova just poisons everything, and even if it does pass through the monster, it just poisons the monster behind it, so it's not really a big deal. Teeth having an next hit delay of 4 is pretty big deal. It does prevent the skill from doing any kind of real damage because it doesn't really do good damage. I think like even maxed out with like full synergies, it's like maybe 1.6k a tooth. And since you can't hit the monsters with multiple teeth, it kind of kills it entirely. Chain Lightning has a next hit delay of 4, and this one is a really weird one. Sorceress, I don't really understand why they did this one because Chain Lightning will bounce back and forth between targets. And if you cast multiple Chain Lightnings at the same time, it will prevent the monster from being hit by the Chain Lightning. So if you had like 2 or 3 Chain Lightnings chaining around a group of monsters, and the Chain Lightnings converge on a target, only one of them can be hit, and it also has the tendency of killing the Chain Lightning chain instead of just simply jumping to the next target. So having multiple Chain Lightnings up at the same time can often be detrimental to the damage output of Chain Lightning. It's usually better just to throw one out and let it run its course and then throw another one out as soon as it's finished, as opposed to throwing out multiple, because when you throw out multiple, they start to interfere with each other. Nova has the next hit delay of 4, which I don't really know why that is exactly. Same thing with Frost Nova, because I don't think that you can potentially hit a monster twice with Nova. I'm pretty sure you can't. As you can see here, there's also a list of just random missiles. Some of this stuff is discernible and some of it's not. As you can see, Diablo's Fire has an next hit delay of 4. There's a lot of various skills. The Fist of Heaven bolts, of course, this has been fixed, so Holy Bolt no longer has a next hit delay of 4. So although I don't know why Paladin's not here at all. Although next hit delay of Holy Bolt has been taken away, it would still be on a lot of these older charts. As you can see, Chain Lightning is on here. Bale's Inferno, Bale's Nova. See, look, the Claws of Thunder Bolt and the Claws of Thunder Nova are both on this. This is the Phoenix Strike right here, Royal Strike Chain Lightning, which I didn't expect Chain Lightning not to have an next hit delay because Chain Lightning, the Sorceress's Chain Lightning also has next hit delay. So it's the same next hit delay that Chain Lightning has on the Sorceress. And then Chaos Ice Bolt also has the next hit delay, as you can see. A lot of interesting one here. So Eruption Crack 1, Eruption Crack 2, Volcano, Small Fire. These are all Druid abilities. Volcano 10. We've got Twister, Tornado, Shock Field on Ground. That's the Shock Web, and so forth and so on. And next hit delay is actually pretty crappy. It does limit your damage output quite a bit. And I really felt like it was a good idea to go over this since we have some very interesting rune words coming out, the Mosaic rune words, which are going to run into this issue. So if you are building a Mosaic assassin for Ladder Season 3, keep in mind some of these things when you're talking about like building your character. You may not want to focus on Claws of Thunder, for instance. If you're going to focus on any of them, I would focus on Fists of Fire or the Blades of Ice. Blades of Ice has no next hit delay and can be spammed infinitely. The Meteor on Phoenix Strike can be spammed infinitely. And Fists of Fire, which is also a fire ability, can also be spammed infinitely. So while Claws of Thunder may definitely look very pretty and it looks like it does a lot of damage, the truth is that next hit delay really stunts it. Same thing with Phoenix Strike. The Chaos Ice Bolt and the Chain Lightning of Phoenix Strike get stunted by that next hit delay. However, the Meteor, on the other hand, is pretty impressive with Phoenix Strike because you can spam like basically 1,000 meteors on somebody's head, and each hit of the Meteor has no next hit delay. So you can spam as many meteors as you want. Now, the fire that comes from the meteor, however, will be affected by general fire rules, which is, a target can't be burning multiple times. They're usually just burning the once, but the fire will still be underneath them the entire time, so that's nice. I think that's pretty much it when it comes to the next hit delay. If you guys have any questions about this, be sure to put them down in the comments. Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button. And, because we got Ladder Season 3 coming in, you guys are going to want to follow along and have some fun. And I think that's pretty much it. So, as always, thanks for watching, and keep watching.